Hello friends, this is Scott back at my front yard garden, and today's topic is how to prune an umbrella tree. Now this is a specialty tree, and sometimes people get a little bit intimidated, but it's a very simple tree to take care of. But it is June 30th. I've been busy with lots of other things, and as you can see, it looks more like Cousin It than it does an umbrella tree. So we've got a little bit of work to do, but it's definitely not as bad as it looks up to this point. The first step in pruning an umbrella tree is to decide how tall or short, I guess you say, as you want the umbrella to be. Now, I'm just kind of taking an arbitrary point, and I'm starting on one side that's the least full, and then I'm just cutting, trying to be as consistent as I can be with the same length or height, but I can always adjust that as we go. Now this tree, I bought my house in 2002, so this tree was well on its way back then. It used to be a huge tree with a double crown. Because of the shade and the sunlight in my yard, it actually grew an extra crown like toward the driveway. As you see, the trunk of this tree is leaning, and it became such a heavy tree, it was huge, that I was afraid that this tree was just going to pull itself out of the ground. So I went back looking at pictures today, and it must have been pre-2006 because I don't have any pictures of it, but I went ahead and I scalped this tree down to absolutely nothing. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but I knew that if I didn't prune it drastically, the tree was going to die or I'd have to take it out. One thing I did do, though, is on that second crown is I got up underneath there and I cut it all out and I dropped it right on my head. So it was one of those things that this big separate crown was pretty heavy, and it didn't feel too good to drop it on my head. But I lived, and I was successful in getting it pruned. But again, I pruned it all the way down till it was just a stump with no leaves whatsoever. I wish I had a picture of it, but I changed cameras on my phone since then, and I don't have any pictures of it. So I'm just continuing to prune around the edges, looking at Cousin It and visualizing what an umbrella is going to look like. But it's pretty quick work. Sometimes I snap these off with my hand. They're very, easy to break even when they're just growing and turning green. But I'll use some pruners today. I just use hand pruners and some hedge pruner type things today to prune this tree. No ladder necessary, because when I did drastically prune this tree, I got it to a manageable height, so I can use my tippy toes and then I can kind of get up underneath it to do the pruning. I didn't need any ladder today, but I'm just working my way around the tree, and it's amazing how something looks so crappy, but then with just a little bit of work you can make it look pretty good. Now the umbrella, I want it to shade the hostas, but I don't want it to be overbearing in this area. So it's always nice to be able to look under your foliage on a tree. I hate it when they grow all the way to the ground. It just it kills your ground cover, and it doesn't look very good. So I want to get some sun in here so the hostas have a little bit of sun, but I still want to keep some shade. But I want to have the under canopy visible so that I can enjoy the yard that way. More action shots of different angles as I'm just trying to get the right level right now. I'm going to go back and fine tune it, but just a rough guesstimate is what I want to do here. But I'm almost got all the way around the tree, and it's amazing how different it looks once you get the length pruned off. But it's a very pretty tree. It's kind of a specimen tree in the yard, and when it is pruned, it looks very, very nice, as you'll see at the end of this video. You have to use your imagination now, but by the end you'll see why umbrella tree is a great tree to have in your yard. But it takes a little bit of time, and again, this whole pruning process took me 20 minutes probably. That's including filming and stopping and starting and all that good stuff. But usually it's I can just come through here, and if it's a less drastic pruning, I can just go through and just snap them off with my hands and just kind of get things so that they look decent. But the tree does grow, and it doesn't always grow symmetrically. So it always takes a little pruning. Usually every couple of weeks when I'm mowing the yard, I'll just finish it off and touch it up a little bit so that it gets back to looking good. But it is amazing how much foliage grows on these trees, and it is one of the later trees to leaf out. So it's like grapes. They're kind of slow to start leafing, but once they do, they really get going. And speaking of grapes, that'll be a future video where I'm going to take on my mess of a grape trellis, and you'll see what I've done with that. But that's another video for another day. What I'm trying to do right here is just get this thing done. I've got a camping trip planned for this weekend, but I've got a rental house that I'm getting back tomorrow, and I went over there today to look at the yard, and it is a mess, and there's sprinkler issues. So I'm sitting here thinking right now of all the stuff I've got to do to try to get ready to go camping, but how my camping trip may not happen, depending upon how how productive I am tomorrow. So we'll see how it goes, but it's kind of a bummer when you miss a trip, but you got to do what you got to do to take care of your property. You see here, even at my ripe old age, I'm still pretty nimble. I can reach up and I can climb below. And I can even do it. I'm surprised I didn't need knee pads here, but I was able to get under there and get her clipped up. Now you see the rest of the pruning is all this top growth and growth that's, all the buds that were on the top of the branches. I need to take care of all that. So I'm going to go through and you'll see that I'm going to whack every top bud that branched out. So it's a simple process, just cutting them back to where the branches terminate, and just cutting all the top growth that's looking and not in the right shape. So it's just like any haircut. You're just going through and just cutting the parts that don't fit, don't match, don't look good, and it's not a difficult thing. But some of the top branches I'll need a different pruner or need some loppers to reach up in there and get them. But overall, this tree is a very manageable size at this point. But just looking at everything and just reevaluating as I go, and just keep whacking and keep whacking. Now, as you can see at the base of this tree and in the background, yesterday I did get a 2 cubic yard truckload of the black bark to spruce up my front yard. I went ahead and I still need another truckload to do the rest and a little bit more weeding, but as you can see, the black bark it'll be a topic for another video, but it really makes the yard pop. And I'm putting a nice depth of bark in, another 4 or 5 inches, just to suppress weeds and just keep the moisture in. And with the drought we're facing, I want to make sure I have everything barked in really well so that I can continue to garden when other people will not be able to garden and have just bare ground. And as soon as water restrictions come, mulch, I can water every couple weeks, whereas other people need to water every day. Now here's my loppers. I need to get those top branches, just a little bit too tall for me. I was going to have to grab a ladder, but I was able to reach up there and get these. I'm fairly tall, so height does have its advantages at times. But it's coming around. The shape is I guess I can say shaping up, and it's starting to look like what it's supposed to look like, which is an umbrella. Here's the finished product for today. As you can see, it does still lean to the left. As you can see, the other crown used to be, on top of this, on the very top left side. So it's still a little bit asymmetrical, but it's definitely a tree that's not going to fall over at this point. Now we can look under and we can see the ground cover, and we can see the black bark that I was describing. And you see my messy garage also. But here's the poor tree. Now, I do talk a lot about whacking trees, and I get away with it quite often without killing trees. That one, I was unsuccessful. Now, like everything in the garden, everything goes to the chickens. And so they may not like these leaves. I fed them to them before. They seem to disappear, but chickens are smart. If there's a leaf there that they don't like or is toxic, they just won't eat it. And then it'll just, it'll turn brown. It'll just be a carbon source. And they'll kick it around, and the manure will collect in it. And it'll just be something I can use for my compost. But they're showing a little bit of interest, and they'll eat some of it. We'll see what happens by tomorrow, whether or not they take it out or it's just going to be ground cover. But here we are, beautiful tree. There's a little bit of dead underneath I need to take care of, but overall, it's a pretty good looking tree. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video and you want to continue to follow me living my best rural life in the city. Please subscribe to my channel, like, comment, and share. And we'll see you at another time on another project. Thank you.